Hey everybody, my name is Glenn and I'm just an average guy cooking things that if I can cook them, you can too. And for today's recipe, I'm going to share with you guys how to make homemade bread bowls. These bread bowls are a very simple recipe and pair very well with lots of different soups, or as you can see here, homemade chili. And I'll also leave a link down in the description below for that and have a card pop up here shortly. But before we dive into today's recipe, I do want to ask you, if you are new here, please hit that subscribe button down below as well as that bell for future notifications. And if at the end of this video you did find it helpful, please hit the thumbs up. But let's go ahead and dive into today's recipe. So for our ingredients, we're gonna need 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 2 tablespoons of active dry yeast, 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, 3 cups of water, and we're also going to need 6 to 7 cups of all-purpose flour. And then to give our crust that nice golden brown look, we're going to need 1 egg white mixed with 1 tablespoon of water. So to start, we're going to make sure that our water's up to temp, which is 110 to 115 degrees. And then we're going to pour in our active dry yeast. Give that a good stir. And then we're going to pour in our sugar. And we're going to set this off to the side so it can activate. And once that's ready, we're going to take a nice large bowl and we're going to put a couple cups of our flour in. You want to start with just a few cups of flour at a time. It makes it a lot easier to mix everything. So now we're going to pour in our water, yeast, and sugar. And we're going to give that a good stir. So now that we've got that all mixed up, we're going to add a couple more cups of our flour. And the reason why we do it a little bit at a time is because if you were to just dump all this flour in there, it's pretty hard to get it all mixed up properly. And then we're going to go ahead and add our salt and our garlic. And the reason I chose to add the salt at this point rather than at the beginning is just so it doesn't inhibit the yeast at all. So once we've added enough flour to our dough and it's the consistency where we need it, where it's no longer sticky, then we're going to lightly flour our cutting board, and then we're going to turn our dough out onto the cutting board and knead it for about 6 to 8 minutes. Our goal here is really just to try to work as much of that flour into the dough as we can. Now that that's done, we want to turn our dough into a ball, and we're going to place it in a bowl that's been lightly greased, turning it once just to coat the top side of that. And then we want to sit it in a warm place covered for about 30 minutes or until doubled. Whoa, that was fast. Okay, now that that's done, we're gonna go ahead and punch out all the air from the dough, trying to get as much of that out as we can. And then we're gonna turn it back out onto our cutting board, and we're gonna form it into a ball and then divide it. Now this recipe makes 6 bread bowls, but feel free to adjust it however you may need it. I have a family of 6, so this recipe works perfect for us. But you can still make 6 even if you have a smaller family, because trust me, these things are good enough to where it doesn't hurt to have a few extra. So by turning it into a ball, it makes it easy to just be able to cut it in half and then divide each one of those halves into 3. That helps us to get as equal parts as we can without having to weigh them out. Now once those are divided, we're going to turn each one of these into a ball, and I do that by just kind of cupping my hands underneath it and then gathering the bottom and joining it together. Then we're going to take a baking sheet that's been greased, and we're just going to sprinkle some cornmeal across the bottom of it. This is optional, but it definitely does give some good flavor to the bread bowls and gives it a little bit more texture as well. Then it's time to place the bread bowls on our baking sheet, and we're going to cut a couple slits right across the top of these bread bowls. This helps so as they expand that the bread bowl doesn't break apart in areas that we don't want it to. And I did actually forget to cut the top of the last one, but you know what, it still turned out good anyways, and that just goes to show you that you don't have to be a professional to do this sort of thing. But once we got the top of them cut, we're going to cover them again, set them in a warm place, and let them rise for about another 15 minutes or so until doubled. Then we want to coat them with our egg white mixture and get them ready for the oven. Then we're going to place our bread bowls in an oven that's been preheated to 400 degrees, and we're going to bake them for about 25 minutes or until golden brown. Then afterwards we want to remove them from the oven and place them on a wire rack for about 15 minutes to cool. These things look and smell amazing, and the fact that they're so easy to make just makes it all the more better. Once they've cooled, we're going to just kind of cut the tops off, and the way I do this is by taking my knife and just putting it at an angle, kind of cutting a cone shape into the bread bowl without going all the way through. Then we just remove the top and just kind of press the inside down just to kind of compact the bread a little bit and form a bowl. This will help strengthen the sides of the bread bowl as well as give us more area to be able to put our soup, or in this case chili. And we're going to put some cheese on them, put some cheese across the top, and then we're going to stick them in the broiler just until the edges start to crisp. And that's it. Ready to serve. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed today's recipe. If you do have any questions or comments, please leave them down in the comment section below. And if you did try this recipe, please let me know what your thoughts are on it. I'd be glad to hear from you. But until I see you guys on the next one, I'm gonna enjoy these chili beans with this bread bowl.